Appearance on Dion's Daily Dose does not imply endorsement from or by any candidate or guest. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by Dion Bergeron or Dion's Daily Dose are his own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any guest. Material and information presented is for general information purposes only. The Dion's Daily Dose name in all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owners, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose.
All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the last episode of Dion's Daily Dose before the Indiana primary. It's been a very long road to get here. We have had all kinds of wrenches thrown in the works, and all sorts of things have happened. There have been pauses and extensions and all kinds of stuff right along the road to get to this point. Hi, Mary. Thanks for joining us. So, a couple things that I want to start off with. First of all, before we get to anything else, I want to send a congratulations and a shout out to the chief of police here in Michigan City, Dion Campbell. Yes, my namesake, or I'm his namesake, or either way, we share a first name. He did a fantastic job last night. I watched a live Facebook video where he went up to the crowd of protesters and talked to them, right? He didn't yell at them. He didn't scream at them. He didn't have police fire tear gas. He talked to them. He said, and he broke it down for him. He told them, he said, I understand. I'm doing what I need to do. You're doing what you need to do. But there are people that are hijacking the Black community. They're using you. And we have seen videos across the nation, at least I have, where there are pallets of bricks that are set up, right? Pallets of bricks that are ready to be thrown. These are not from the protesters. Protesters, as I've said before, have every right to have their grievances heard. Mary says, it's been crazy. I am doing what I got to do to protect my home. Trump just called the military in to stop the rioting. Stay safe. Absolutely. Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe. Let me tell you, the last several days are just one of the many reasons why I am so vehemently in favor of our Second Amendment, and it is why I will protect it. All of our Constitution. Yes, Mary said she also watched the live feed from Michigan City, and our chief did a fantastic job. He did. He addressed people, many of them by name. He knows these people. Fantastic guy. So I'm going to get into why choose Dion, right? When you go to the voting booth tomorrow, for those of you who haven't gone to vote yet, why should you cast your ballot for me? Well, first of all, I've been reached out to by a number of people for help, and I have provided what help I could. I will take that very, very seriously, because that is what the job is about. Yes, you go to Washington. Yes, you cast your vote, but you are also there to represent the people of the first district. You are there to be a liaison between federal agencies for these people. And I take that very, very seriously. People already trust me to get things done, and I will get them done. They've come to me with a number of things, and I've done everything that I could to get these resolutions that they need. If it means phone calls, if it means going places, I do that. One thing that was really cool today was my 17-year-old. I'll get back into why vote for me, but I do want to say my 17-year-old, he'll be 18 come the general election, so he is allowed to vote in the primary. And this election was his first election where I'm on the ballot I mean, how cool is that? That was just a momentous, historic occasion, and I am so incredibly proud of him. I'm incredibly proud of the sure-footedness that he showed in asking for his ballot and telling people and doing what he needed to do. It was just really, really cool. It was a proud dad moment, so I wanted to share that with you. But so another thing that I did want to say out there. So we went to the early voting location here in Michigan City because that's where I live. I was going to wait till tomorrow, but I'm going to be too busy tomorrow. That's just the way it is. So we went out. We went to the early voter. All my signs that we had placed there were gone. So if some signs show up in unwanted locations, it was not the Dion for Congress team. We only put signs where they're supposed to be, where we have permission. So a number of signs disappeared from the early polling location. Why they just didn't, pull them up and lay them down, who knows? But it is what it is. There were other signs that were still there. Plenty of Democrats were still there. It is what it is. My signs don't even say Republican, so you can't blame it on a party. It is what it is. I'm just letting you know, if you see some signs where they shouldn't be, call me, let me know, and I will come out and take care of that. It's just really frustrating. So why vote Dion? So, okay. Yeah, Mary Diego Kiddo, absolutely. She got to vote in the primary before she turned 18 too. Birthday is on the 13th of the month. Oh yeah, I hear you. Turning 39, huh? So I'm gonna go into a little detail about some stuff that happened and how I was able to help people. I never give names. Names don't matter. I went to a area in Portage that has been forgotten. The people there were very, very upset. Their owners had changed hands of the park, and they were angry. They were angry because they felt like no one was listening to them. I was one of only 2 politicians that have been there in years, right? Because they have no problem asking for your vote, but when it comes time to actually do anything, that's something else. I was able to find out who the current owners were. I was able to get some promises from these so-called owners. Whether they carry through or not, I can only do so much. But I was able to track down multiple transfers and see who was now the property owner, get them on the phone and talk to them directly. I'm going to tell you something. It really is funny how dismissive people are until they learn even that I was running for Congress. Not that I'm a congressman, right? Because I'm not. I'm just running in a primary. But it's like all of a sudden the entire demeanor changes of people. How sad is that? I personally think that's really, really sad because they're so dismissive of quote unquote regular people until they find out you might have a little bit of clout someday. Then all of a sudden they want to be very, very helpful. But that aside, I've talked before about how I feel about politicians and all that stuff. I was reached out to today by a lady who is experiencing some very bad flooding in her churches that she is a member of, and she was unable to get any help. Apparently, FEMA wasn't able to help her because a state of emergency had not been declared locally. She was out of options, and I was able to get a phone number and a contact for her. These are the kinds of things that we need someone to step up and do. Look, even if it's not me, whoever the District 1 representative is, needs to be someone who's going to take that extra step for the people. And I will do that for you. So there is a lot that we can talk about, and I'm going to get to your questions and all of that, but we really do we really do need someone for the district that is going to speak up. We need someone that's going to answer the call when they get a call, that's going to respond to those calls, that's going to answer the phone, return the voicemail, whatever, because not everyone can answer their phone now. I'm going to tell you, I am very conservative. My values, I was conservative before Donald Trump. I'll be a conservative after Donald Trump. Uh, I have very Christian ideals, and I don't look at that as a bad thing. For those of you out there that are maybe not Christians, I think we can all agree that Judeo-Christian values are what this country was founded on, and I think it's led to some of our greatest achievements, our greatest accomplishments. Uh, there's nothing wrong with being kind to others, right? Treating others like you want to be treated. Uh, Mary, you're absolutely right, Mary. We do. We need someone that's going to stand their ground and fight for the first district, and I think I've shown I'll do that. There, when a certain Democratic candidate on the left wished for death on conservatives because they vote a certain way, I spoke up. I sent out a press release. I contacted the papers. I told them this is not okay. I don't wish any harm on others because they have a different political belief than I. We need someone to speak up because all across the country, Republicans are under attack. We've seen it. We hear about it all the time. Uh, we need someone that's going to speak up. I am very pro-life. I've talked about this before. I've done videos on it. I am a very unapologetically pro-life. I believe that life begins at conception. I believe that we must protect the weakest among us, which I look at as the unborn child. So the other thing that I think is going to be really necessary in order to really win, because we can have a candidate that is the epitome of conservative values, right? And I think a lot of the Republicans are. It is what it is. We have veterans, we have former law enforcement, multiple. We have people that proudly call this country home and proudly say the Pledge of Allegiance, all down the Republican ticket. But I think we also need someone who's able to reach across that aisle. I think we need someone that's going to show that we're not going to ignore those on the left, because there's a reason this district has been Democrat for 90 plus years. We desperately need a representative that understands that and is able to bridge that divide, because there's such a divide now. Who's at fault? I have my ideas, right? The media is a big part of it, but we need someone that's able to talk to those on the left that have certain ideas and beliefs about how things are. I was the only Republican to show up to the roundtable that was held by the politicking app. I knew it was stacked with Democrats. I saw the guest list. I'm like, whoa, who else? Nobody else came to this except me. But we need someone that's going to do that. We need someone that is going to understand and respond to the many, many issues across this district. We need someone that understands that steel is the foundation of the infrastructure, the entire purpose of many of the things that have been built in this district were because of the steel industry. We need someone that understands that, recognizes that there are certain issues with right to work legislation, and we need someone to work to fix that. We also need someone that understands what it's like to grow up dirt poor. We need someone that understands what that green NIPSCO is about and has had to make the choices whether to feed their children or whether to pay their rent or their mortgage payment. I did that. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree, Mary. It hurts my heart too. She says, hurts my heart that someone would wish violence upon another. I'm not like that. I hate violence. Saw too much violence growing up due to the gangs. And that's what it comes down to. It doesn't matter what your reason for wishing violence is. I don't think violence is the answer. We have a military, we have our police. Sometimes they are forced to use violence because of the nature of their job. But as a conservative Christian, we shouldn't wish violence on others. I know there are times, believe me, there are times when that is very, very hard to forgive others, especially when they are saying vile things, when they are doing vile things. We know that unfortunately there are those out there who do vile things, sometimes to the weakest among us, and it's hard to not want them hurt, right? But we must be better than that. We have to be better than that. Um, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show that our mayor here in Michigan City released a statement. Let me get this shared for you. And he does praise our wonderful police chief here in Michigan City. Let's see here. Here it is. Let's go to this so you can see it. Let's make it big. There we go. So this is South Bend, Elkhart, St. Joseph, ABC 57. Michigan City Mayor released a statement following Sunday's protest. It's pretty short. It just says Michigan City Mayor Dwayne Perry released a statement on Monday following protests over the death of George Floyd erupted in the city on Sunday. A crowd of If you'll notice here, one of the things that really annoys me lately is that the media doesn't seem to employ any editors or proofreaders anymore, but a crowd of protesters marched through the city on Sunday starting around 6 p.m. local time. The mayor shared the following statement. As a nation and in our community, we have witnessed and shared in the grief over the tragic death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. We have also seen the protests and sometimes violence and destruction that has occurred in some cities. I was notified by our police chief, Dion Campbell, of a planned peaceful protest scheduled for Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. Our police chief and his staff prepared for this event and developed a strategy to have a peaceful protest with minimal incident. I spent the afternoon and evening at the MC police station and was kept informed of what was happening in our city. As your mayor, I would like to personally acknowledge Chief Dion Campbell and his staff at the Michigan City Police Department, along with the countless assisting agencies and staff, including, and he goes on to thank everyone. I could not be prouder of the men and women that put themselves in our city ahead of everyone else to ensure a safe, peaceful protest. I want to thank the demonstrators who peacefully exercised their right to free speech. The protest was motivated by a desire for justice, equality, and accountability in the United States. I am angered and disappointed by individuals who chose to engage in unnecessary acts of violence and destruction, which undermined the true meaning of the protest. In these unpredicted times, we must all work together to achieve change. Again, my thanks and appreciation to Chief Campbell for his courageous leadership and the dedication of the men and women of the Michigan City Police Department and all the assisting agencies. It was a good statement. I agree with it. I think it's very, very sad that in many cases, paid agitators have hijacked peaceful protest and caused destruction in cities across this country. Our president has stepped up and declared Antifa a terrorist organization. I believe that was the right thing to do. There's a lot of talk about what kind of teeth that'll have, but I will tell you that the FBI, undercover of the Justice Department, I shared that yesterday, they are declaring them a terrorist organization and they are working to dismantle them. Now, we've seen the good that the FBI can do. We've also seen the bad. I believe this is on the good side by all means. We've known for a long time that Antifa is a terrorist organization. That's what they do, right? They destroy, they burn, they attack. If you don't agree with them, they assault you. Unfortunately, they've been allowed to fester in many across the country, and we desperately need someone who is going to stand up to them. We need someone who is going to make sure that they do not continue to cause the damage that they have caused. It's very, very unfortunate. So we're going to listen in real quick to a
American people.
press
I swore an
conference.
oath to uphold the laws of our nation.
You know, he's talking right
And
now.
that is exactly what I will do.
Let me get you a better
All
mic here. Just a
Americans
moment.
were rightly sickened and revolted by the brutal death of George Floyd. My administration is fully committed that for George and his family, justice will be served. He will not have died in vain.
I'm going to share the screen in just a
We
moment.
cannot
Sorry.
allow the righteous cries of peaceful protesters to be.
Oh, what happened? Really? Okay, well, apparently, so here we have here pure evil. Police chief breaks down after describing how Richmond leftist rioters torched home with children inside, then blocked the fire department. So POTUS just walked out, this is an hour ago, just walked out the front door of the White House and into Lafayette Square, the epicenter of the DC protests, to visit historic St. John's Church, which was set on fire last night. Does this look like a president who is hiding, according to the media? It does not. So unfortunately, I lost the feed from before, so we're not going to worry about that. But back to let me get this. There we go. Okay. So let me get this microphone out of your way here. We have a real chance this election at turning this around. We have a real election, real chance in 2020 at getting some conservative leadership installed across our nation, preserving some of that leadership, and getting a voice in Washington that is not afraid, a voice that will not be intimidated, because I won't be. I've worked some of the worst spots at Indiana State Prison that you can work. I have dealt with some of the best people in the world, and I have dealt with some of the worst, at least here in Indiana, because they exist, right? There are some very core issues in our criminal justice system, and I think it's important that we have a voice that understands that understands from a law enforcement perspective and understands from a citizen's perspective, and I provide that. So let's talk about what we're going to do, right? Let's talk about what happens depending on one or the other. We get the news, we're watching the polls, and holy crap, Dion won. What do we do? Well, first of all, I send out a gigantic thank you to all of my supporters, to all of the people that made it possible, because it's you, it's your vote. It's not me. I didn't do it. You did it. All of you that voted for me, all of you that pushed me along, gave me the words of encouragement that I needed. Thank you. Thank you very much. And that thank you does not diminish if the polls come in a different way. It's still very much heartfelt and very much appreciated, all of the love and support that I have received from across the nation. Not just here in Indiana, not just the first district. I've had people from all across the country who support, who look forward to working with me in Congress. That means so much to me. I can't even explain the joy that brought me, that there are people from California, from New York, from New Jersey that are like, man, I really hope you get this, because I'd really like to work with you. You're a great down to earth guy. Blah blah blah. I'll skip the praise. But yes, Dave, absolutely. Dave brings up a great point. He says that the diversity of our district is actually a great representation of the country, social and economic, and it is. We have people from some of the poorest neighborhoods in Indiana, and I can go right up the street to Potawatomi Park, for example, or Valentine Court here in Michigan City, and see some of the biggest, most beautiful homes around. Long Beach, right up the road, right? $1 million homes on the lake. They're all represented here from the very, very wealthy to the indigent. They're all represented here. And I have dealt with all of them from all stages, both in my professional career and my private life, right? And I think that's really important. I do. I think that's one of the most critical things to be able to do is to go into a very diverse Congress made up of people from all across the country, from all walks of life, and be able to relate with them. But here's what we do. Tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m., we are having a thank you party, because that's what it is. Win or lose, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart, from all of the people involved with Dion for Congress. Thank you for your support. At 6:30, Zorn Brew Works in Michigan City. For all of those that are out there that have helped the campaign, that believe in us, you're invited. Here's the deal, though. I have to make some caveats, right? Some caveats. Some. I got to tell you what's going on. So they said, yes, we'd love to have you. This is also where I had a meet and greet in the past. They appreciate the fact that I am local. They appreciate the fact that they really don't want to get involved politically, but they're more than happy to have us host our event there. And I get that. Politics is so divisive these days, but there's a limit, right, to the number of people that they can have per the distancing guidelines and the stages and all of that. So they can only have a max 100 people in the restaurant at a given time. And this includes all of their business, not just us. We can't just take up the whole place. So if you come out, there will be, for some of my most ardent supporters, there are reserved spots. For those of you who have helped me along and believe in me, you are more than welcome to come join us. We're going to have some appetizers. We'll have a drink. If you want dinner, though, that's, I'm afraid, is on you. Unfortunately, I do not have $500,000 like some other campaigns. If I did, I'd be more than happy to do so for you. But I'm going to tell you this. No matter who wins the Republican nomination, it is critically important that we all come together and we support them to have a chance of flipping this district. I can tell you that there are those that I believe will have a hard time flipping this district. I think I will have an easier time flipping the district. But no matter what, it's vote, 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 vote. Get out there, make your voice heard. For those of you who have not voted yet, even if you don't vote for me, even if you're voting on the D ticket, if you need a ride, let me know. One of the members of the Dion for Congress team will show you up, or will show up, give you a ride to the polls, and you don't have to be worried about being intimidated. You don't have to worry about us trying to talk politics to you. If you don't want to talk politics, we will not say, hey, vote for me, vote for me. We're just there to give you a ride. I think it's absolutely critical that people are able to get to the polls safely, and we are more than happy to help you with that if you need that. I'm going to try to be at as many polling locations as I can tomorrow. It's going to be a very busy day. We also, as soon as this video is over, I'm going to go and I'm going to start putting signs at the polling places. It's going to be a long night, very little sleep, but that's part of running for office, right? Logan says, first time voter, although I don't live in Northwest Indiana anymore, I wish you the best of luck tomorrow, and we'll be praying that NWI makes the right decision in electing a conservative candidate who will represent the values of the region. Thank you, Logan. I appreciate that. That's really what it comes down to, isn't it? We need a candidate that not only represents our values, but also stands a chance in the general election, I believe. I'm just going to say it. Mark Leva, who has run over and over and over, has name recognition. He does. The people know him, especially those who vote. You know, every election, they know the name. Do we believe that Mark Leva can win against some of the big hitters on the other side? I mean, we have people that have generated $500,000 in a primary. Is he going to be able to beat that? I can tell you that it's kind of a one-note thing from Mark. He does. I've said this before. I'll reiterate it here. He seems like a good, honest guy, but he's not the only good, honest guy running. And there are people with real ideas for change. There are people with real ideas about how to protect our Constitution, about how to fix our healthcare system, about how to protect our steel industry, about how to represent union and non-union members. Just saying. This has been a crazy election, though, hasn't it? It's been ups and downs and happy moments and sad moments. And there have been, I keep bumping this mic. I'm going to tell you, though, post-primary, right, I'm going to take a short time off, but then I'll come back with Dion's Daily Dose. And I'm going to move the mic around because I keep bumping it. It makes a sound, but I'm going to organize this. It'll be better. No matter I'm still going to keep doing this, and I'm still going to be involved in the politics of our region. I don't know how yet, assuming I don't pull the W off on tomorrow, but I will. I truly believe that. I truly believe that all of you recognize and understand that I'm the best one to represent this district. I believe that you understand that I have the best chance of winning in the general because I'm the only one who showed up to reach across the aisle. I'm the only one who said, I understand there are people who think out of all these candidates, right? All of the candidates on the left, the 14 people running on the left, each of them have their small core group of supporters that believe that they're their voice, right? That believe that they represent what they want. So I'm more than willing to meet with these people and listen to their ideas because I think that's important. I think it's important for everyone to believe that their voice is being represented. Now, there are certain things that I'm immovable on. My constitutionally based conservative values, I believe our Constitution is the number one law, and that's it, right? Anything that violates our Constitution should not be considered. I think that's one thing that we've seen all across the country, not just here in Indiana or even in the White House. We've seen politicians that take their oath of office to uphold the Constitution, and something else happens. Whether they intended to do so when they first started, I don't know, but they become compromised in some way, shape, or form. That's one thing that I will tell you. I am a very loyal husband. You don't have to worry about anyone getting blackmail material on me because I'm not interested. I'm too old, too old for that stuff. No, seriously, I'm loyal to my wife. I take my vows very, very seriously. Unfortunately, not everyone does. And I'm not even talking about the candidates that are involved in this. I'm talking about some of our elected officials in the past. They don't take their oath seriously, either to their spouse or to their country. Dave makes a great point. We need someone that can get the politics out of politics. And unfortunately, we have seen time and time again that politicians are going to do what politicians do. They're gonna shake hands. They're gonna make deals. They're gonna do what they need to do. Yeah, Elizabeth, she says exactly that. She's not worried because she has no reason to worry about me perhaps straying off the beaten path. Not interested. As I put on my personal Instagram way back in the day, my wife is cooler, right? Because it's true. I'm not looking to date. I'm not looking to get involved with anyone. It's really, really critically important that we have a representative that is focused on the job. And that, I've said it before, I'm going to tell all of you that are watching today, that's why I do my live streams every day. There was a time in the beginning where I'm like, well, maybe I'll do it on, like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or this days. I do it 7 days a week, unless there's like the round table or debate or something else that preempts it that I kind of have to go to, a Zoom meeting with party officials, whatever. So I do that because this is going to require dedication. In order to, when I am your representative in Washington, D.C., it's a full-time job. And it's more than 40 hours a week. It is all the time, your phone, all the time. People calling you, wanting this, wanting that. And that's the job. It's what you do. These people that go to Congress, right, and they're just there when the votes are supposed to be tallied, and then they come home and they don't do anything else. That's not me. I will work tirelessly for you. I will work 7 days a week for you, because that's why I do these 7 days a week, to show you that I have the dedication that it takes to get this job done the right way. We have suffered too long as a country, not just Northwest Indiana, but as a country, under politicians that are just worried about how they can line their pockets, how they can take care of this group or that group, instead of worrying about their whole district and improving the lot of life for their whole district. I've gone into very great detail about my healthcare plan. I've gone into detail, especially at the debate and the Encore, about the things that really matter to me and the plans that I have to fix those things, because we can do better. We have a free market system for our healthcare. We can do better without destroying the free market, without ending the medical tourism that happens, because we do have a lot of people that come to this country because it's the best health, it's the best treatment in the world. We have the best doctors, the best surgeons, the best procedures. When's the last time you heard of major medical breakthroughs coming out of these socialized healthcare countries? Major medical things that change the landscape, right? I can't remember any offhand, at least for a while. It's been quite a while. We have positives, but we also have a lot of negatives. We have people that can't afford the prescriptions. We have people that are unable to afford insulin for their child. I actually just talked to someone the other day who has their young child is a type 1 diabetic, and they have to purchase insulin for that child. Now, luckily, they have a good insurance plan, right? What if they didn't? What if they didn't? They would not be able to afford the astronomical costs of insulin. There are those out there who, many of them seniors, many of them disabled, who are forced to go without because they can't afford medicine. They can't afford going to the doctor. They can't afford many of these things. I have a plan for that. And it's deep, it's involved, but the components of it work. We've seen it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because I've talked about that before, but I will say, no matter who you vote for, make sure you believe in that person. Make sure you believe that that person represents you and will represent you. Not only in the primary, but in the general. Because we have an uphill battle ahead of us. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Yes, Ralph, you're absolutely right. Try being on Medicare and being insulin dependent. We've seen that a third of Medicare recipients are insulin dependent. How are they able to stay alive? Right? We've heard of people dying because they weren't able to afford their insulin. Now, Trump actually signed an executive order, or excuse me, I'm not sure if it was an EO or if he worked out a deal, but that's a good start. But we need more than EOs. If Trump were to lose this election, which I don't even want to think about, but if he were to lose this election, all of the things that we have accomplished for this country could be undone like that. I will go to Congress and I will make sure that the benefits that have been realized under the Trump administration get made into law. And not everything is good. I don't agree with, I've talked about this before, I don't agree with some of the Second Amendment things, but overall, absolutely. Let's make sure that the price tag transparency becomes law. Let's make sure that the insulin price caps become law. A lot of people seem to believe that Republicans are against healthcare or are against price caps on insulin, things like that. I am not one of those. I am a Republican who believes very strongly in protecting the disabled, the weak, the yes, there are many things that can be done, and there are many things that we need to fix, but we need to have someone who understands the problems and is willing to work to fixing the problems. Uh, that unfortunately, unfortunately, my wife does make a good point. Look, we reached out to Mark Leva for the primary, for the debate, right, that Chris Wells was hosting. And I texted him and I said, hey, man, we're having a debate. What is, are you interested? Do you want to get in on this? Because we're offering it to everyone. His reply to me was, worry about yourself. Okay. Chris Wells actually got in touch with him directly, and he had demand after demand after demand. Instead of just, yes, let's have a debate, right? That's not going to work in the general. He didn't show up to any of the forums. He didn't show up to any of the round tables, anything. Now, I will say, Bill Powers, that's her opinion. I will say the man seems pretty smart. He's had a couple of interesting ideas, and he was at the first roundtable. Bill Powers was the only other Republican to show up at the roundtable that we had that was hosted by St. Timothy's Church in Gary. The only other Republican, me and him. That's the only Republicans that were there. The second one, the politicking roundtable, that was hosted by Jordan. I forget her last name. I wish I could remember it. Jordan. She developed this app, right? Had reached out to all the candidates. I was the only Republican to show up at that one. We need someone who's willing to reach across the aisle. I'm also a father, a husband, and I understand what it's like to make those hard choices for the betterment of your family. I understand working hard. I was a truck driver for almost a decade. I've been all across the country. I understand what it's like with our criminal justice system. I worked at Indiana State Prison for 7 years. I worked in bad parts, good parts. I worked in the PDR, which is the prisoner's dining room, where there are a couple of hundred inmates in there at one time. And all of a sudden the kitchen says, we're out of chicken or something like that. I learned a lot working there. I learned a lot about the true nature of some people. I learned a lot about people who look at that position and enjoy it because it gives them just a little bit of power. I was not one of those. I did my job. I think I did my job very well, but I didn't relish getting involved in physical altercations and having to defend people. And yes, when I was a truck driver, my wife keeps reminding me to tell people that I had a 100% on-time delivery rate, because when you make a promise to someone, it is vitally important that you keep it. And if I'm going to work that hard for a company that I'm just a number to, imagine how hard I'm going to work for you. Because that's what this is. It's me working for you. I think some politicians forget that all too often, in fact, that we work for you, regardless of how you decide to vote. I think it's important that we remember that the person that you're voting for, you need to believe that they believe that they work for you. I know that. But let's say, right? Let's just say, and yeah, that's true. Wife also reminds me that when I was at the prison, I never had any reports against me. Sometimes the offenders, inmates, convicts, whatever you want to call them, just so you know, the older ones who have been there for a long time, they're called convicts. They're okay with that. That's their name. It's actually like a hierarchy kind of a structure. Convict, right? Inmate, offender. And they changed the terms over the years, but the older ones, the ones that have the values at the time, uh, they have a very different way of looking at things than the newer guys coming in, the younger generation. But a lot of times they'll sue people, right? Especially the younger offenders. The convicts, not so much, but they will sue people for rights violations, for things like that. I know a couple of people who have been sued by offenders for nothing. And let's be very clear. If I thought someone actually violated someone's rights, I would not stand by and allow that to happen. Uh, they've been sued for frivolous, ridiculous things. But I never got sued while I worked at ISP. I actually had a good rapport with the officers and the offenders. The offenders knew if they asked me to do something and I said I would do it, then I would do it. Uh, Ralph would like to point out, yeah, you worked for me. And actually, my wife did work for him for a short time. He was the OIC, which means officer in charge. I met my wife while we both worked at Indiana State Prison. For those of you who don't know the story, uh, it was a learning experience, right? Everything I've done in my life, and of course, as a teenager, we know how teenagers are. I didn't think of anything as a learning experience. I thought of everything as a personal assault. But as I got older, I tried to look at everything as a learning experience. What can I learn from what happened to me today, yesterday, last week? And I've tried to move on from that and make positive changes to my life because of it. I think I've done a pretty good job. But what happens if someone else is chosen rather than me to represent the first district in the general election for the Republican ticket? I'm going to kick the sheets, right? That's my little term for, laying in bed. Nah, I'm angry, right? Kick rocks, whatever. In order to give ourselves the best chance, I am absolutely going to back whoever is chosen, whoever you choose. Uh, again, I think other people are not as good of a choice, but ultimately it's up to you. Do you believe that this person will represent your interests? Do you believe that this person will listen to you, will answer you, will get back to you? Don't just look at the last week, right before the primary. Look at the whole time. Did these people answer directly? Talk to your neighbors. I have heard, and I'm not giving names, I'm not trying to bash anyone, but I have heard that there are people that are running that do not answer. I've been reached out to and said, hey, I have a question for you. Okay, what's the question? Answer the question. And they said, you're the only person that got back to me so far, right? There are ones out there that are not available already. And if a candidate is not available already, what are they going to be when they're overworked, right? Yeah. So I wasn't going to say anything directly, Ralph, but he brought it up. So Ralph says he was getting sued for $656 million. To pay my fifth of that, he would have to work through 5 straight lifetimes, literally die, come back and work that lifetime too, etc. Yes. And Dave points out our nation is sue happy because people don't know how to talk to each other anymore. And that's absolutely correct. We don't know how to talk to people anymore. We don't know how to communicate with, especially with those that have a different ideology than we do. We've seen what happens when communication breaks down. We're seeing it now. Look at Michigan City versus Chicago, right? Chicago, New York, and even some of the smaller places, right? Not just the big major cities, but the smaller places too. Dion Campbell, our chief of police, went out there. He spoke directly to the protesters. He looked them in the eye. He called them by name. That's community policing. That's what I'm talking about. Community policing is the foundation of this country, and it's what actually gave police the power to enforce the laws, right? It wasn't that badge and that gun. That's what many of them rely on now. Not all. There's a tiny fraction that are bad, right? But the community policing we've gotten away from. And that's unfortunate because communication is probably the only thing we have that puts us above other animals, you know. Eric says we need someone in to remind the politicians to work for the citizens, not the other way around. Absolutely. Absolutely. We have these politicians that even if they try to understand where we came from and what we're about, they can't understand it because they've never been there. They've never had to play Bill Bingo, right? Where it's like, okay, well, if I pay this, then I can wait for the disconnect notice on this. And you know, that last $20 before payday, you got to feed yourself, but you also got to put gas in your car, and that tire's looking awfully bald. And oh man, the kid needs $5 for the field trip, and they don't have any idea. These people that have lived a privileged life, and look, there are many of them that are good people. They do great things. But I'm not talking about the people who worked hard, made a good living for themselves, and now are living, because some of my family is like that. They were just as broke as me growing up. They worked their butt off. They either went to school or they learned a trade and they work hard, and now they have nice things. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that have no clue what it's like to struggle. I can't understand what life is like for them, and they can't understand what life is like for us, because the vast majority of our district is not super wealthy. The vast majority of our district is poverty, slightly above the poverty line, middle class, upper middle class, right? We need people that understand that. We really do. Eric said you're the only one that came out here and answered questions, and it was my pleasure to do so. I will say that this whole pandemic messed up a lot of plans. There were a lot of places that I had intended to go to and talk to people directly and knock doors and go to pancake breakfasts and go do this, and all that got messed up. So I'm trying to do what I can. Sarah says if they're not available now, they won't be if elected. You are absolutely correct. Unfortunately, that's just the way that it is. So, yeah. And let's see here. Ralph says lawyers are the problem, specifically the ambulance chasers. But let's not forget that these lawyers and ambulance chasers exist because people are willing to utilize them. Just like take the made in China stuff that's been shipped to Walmart. If people didn't buy that garbage, they couldn't sell it. And that's the way it is, unfortunately. And Eric has a great point. Lawyers write the laws, not the citizens. Corporations write the laws, not the citizens. And they do that via boards. Why not put citizens in on those boards to clean up the corruption? And that's the only thing we can do is start getting people who are not, you know how many lawyers are in Congress? How many millionaires are in Congress? We looked up the numbers, and it is a large percent of congressmen and women are millionaires, a disturbingly large percent. Also, the vast majority of them have some sort of law degree. I find that a problem. I'm going to tell you why. Because laws should be written so that the average person can understand them. Because remember, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. That has been hammered into us, right? Doesn't matter if you understand the law. It doesn't matter. You have to follow the law. There are so many laws on the books, it is absolutely impossible to know and understand all of the laws. I would love to go back to when it was just the Constitution, right? But look, things come up with corporations, with companies, with private property, and laws needed to be initiated. But we have an overburdening legal system now where they can find something to charge you with. Throughout your daily life, you probably break more laws than you realize. I want to roll that stuff back. I've talked before about how these legislators, these congressmen and women, are so proud of the laws that they create. Why can't we be proud of rolling some back? Why can't we be proud of getting rid of some extraneous laws? Get rid of some of that stuff. They make it so difficult. They really do. They make it very, very difficult. They set that up for a reason. I want to focus on getting rid of that, and I want to focus on getting rid of the corruption, because anyone who lives in Northwest Indiana knows that this area has a history of corruption. It's basically Chicago light, right? We need to do something about that, and we need to get people into office that aren't going to be on the take, that aren't worried about how much is in their bank account. I'm going to tell you, I did everything that I've done for this campaign. I put my own money in, and there were a handful of donations, a little more than that, from other people. And I told people, here's what I'm going to use that money for, right? I bought my signs with that money, ran a couple of social media ads with that money. The other stuff, I had to upgrade my computer. That was my money. I'm going to tell you, especially when I win the primary and we go into the general, I'm going to keep you updated every step of the way. I'm also going to need a good accountant. If anyone knows anyone, let me know. There are very real dollars involved in a general election. And I wish it wasn't that way. I wish it didn't take, the projected estimate is $3 million to win a general election for Congress, at least for District 1. They estimated $3 million it would cost for a position that pays $174,000 a year. Does anyone else see a problem with that? Does anyone else see the issue that comes in when you have a position that pays a tiny fraction of what it costs to get that position? I'm going to tell you, whoever wins the primary, I hope it's me, obviously, on the Republican side, but whoever wins this primary, when I win this primary, whatever you want to call it, we're going to need people like you, and we're going to need financial help. That's just the way it is. And I'll get on here and I'll talk about how we need money, and I'll make the calls and I'll do what I need to do. But $3 million? Really? Oh my God. It infuriates me that it should cost even a tiny fraction of that. Eric says, $3 million, hell, you can win it for free if you're truly honest. I mean, I hope so. I have been transparent since day one. I started doing these lives because I wanted to connect with you, the voter, the resident in District 1, the person who understands that we need regular people to fix this system, because we left it up to the politicians for a long time. We said, okay, yeah, you were a state rep, you were a governor, you were a mayor, you were whatever, right? You obviously know what you're doing. Go ahead and go to Congress and tell us, help us be our voice or whatever. Look what they've done. Look what they have done to our country. They have put people into powerful positions, unelected positions that are actively working against a sitting president. That cannot be underestimated, right? Not enough can be said about that. Look, I'm not going to get into a whole tangent of, tinfoil hat and conspiracy, but the impeachment nonsense showed us what we were dealing with. They absolutely, Eric, you are absolutely correct. They sold out this country. They sold it out to the highest bidder over and over and over. Uranium One, Ukraine and Biden. We've seen it over and over. And that's just the most recent. It's been going on for decades. And every person who stands up and says, enough, we're going to fix this. Look at JFK. Look at Reagan. They tried. Every person who has tried to fix the system gets on a list. I can tell you that they can try, but I am not concerned. I'm not concerned because I trust in God and put on the armor of God, right? I do that. I believe that if I am meant to go on to this office, then it will happen. And nothing is going to stand in the way of that if God wishes it. It's that simple. At the same time, by all means, make your voice heard. Vote for the person that you truly believe in, because we need them. We need them now more than ever. I'm going to reiterate, I'm not going to bash anyone. I'm not going to talk badly about any of the other candidates, but I will say that as far as endorsements go, I'm going to touch on that for just a moment. I was assured when I ran for this position that endorsements for the Republican Party were not handed out pre-primary. They said, don't bother calling, don't bother asking, because I'm like, how does this whole endorsement thing work? Who do I talk to? We don't give out endorsements. And party comes together and we endorse, whoever the Republican candidate that won that is. Had I known that was not the case, that the party actually was planning on endorsing someone, I probably would have done a couple of things a little differently. But as far as endorsements go, I have the endorsements of the voice of the people. I have the endorsement of regular, everyday citizens of this country, everyday residents of Northwest Indiana who believe that I am their voice because I do speak up. And I think that's necessary. I really do. Look, we have seen the kind of tactic that the media uses to attack the president. Anytime he says anything, they'll take a tiny clip of this and a tiny clip of that, weave it together, and it ends up completely different than what he said, right? And I think that's unfortunate because we have a media that refuses to do their job. There was a time, I think, when they did, but I've showed you before. I think it's down to 5 companies that control 90% of what you read, watch, and listen to. There is a concerted effort in this country to control the information. Look at Twitter. Donald Trump just did an EO about Section 230, and that's a bunch of legalese. But what it basically means is that Twitter is not acting as a platform. They're not allowing everyone to have the same opportunity to speak. They're trying to limit some of it. In that case, you become a publisher, and you have different protections as a publisher than you do as a platform. When you're a platform, you can't be sued, right, for deleting content or censoring content, or held accountable for what you do allow on your platform. Now, I'd just like to state that they haven't banned people who are calling for violence. They haven't put in little disclaimers on their tweets that are encouraging rioting and looting and offering to bail people out of jail. They're not doing that with them, but conservative voices are being controlled. They're being censored, and little warning labels. I told you about this before. HR 1157 is set to effectively gut our Second Amendment if it gets passed through. We're talking about classifying almost every rifle as a, quote, assault rifle, and then outright banning assault rifles. Now, Newsweek did a story saying, fact check, would HR 1157 actually ban assault weapons, right? I shared that article from Newsweek on my Facebook, and I got one of these stupid fact checkers saying it's not accurate. What? It's Newsweek, or was it Newsweek or USA Today? It might have been. I think it was USA Today. I think I was thinking Newsweek for something else. USA Today actually said, yeah, that's what it would do, but it's not retroactive yet. That's why they were like, well, no, it wouldn't go back. What? Really? Eric says control is about making people slaves instead of seeing everyone as citizens or equals. Absolutely. And that's what it's about. It's about that control. We are seeing a movement. Dave says that's why we're seeing a whole new citizen media popping up. Right. You are the news now. You, me, all of us are the news now, because we can't trust our mainstream media. Have you seen there's a photograph going around? Now, we've talked before about CBS, and they had used the same picture. It was from an Italian hospital, and they tried to say it was a New York hospital. They were called on it and were told, yo, what is this, right? Fake news, hashtag fake news. They did it again. They said, oh, we're sorry, that was an accident. It was an editing error, right? Then did it again. They shared this video that actually Bernie Sanders had used for one of his talking points of this allegedly this nurse who was crying about not being able to get PPE, and how, she had to quit her job because she was forced to work with these patients. She wasn't even a nurse. She had quit her job like a year ago. It was a farce. They shared it widely. CBS did. Again, CBS, right? MSNBC has done it on multiple occasions. CNN, we don't even need to talk about them. Our media is controlled. Different areas, different heads. But we need people who are willing to call that out, who are willing and able to say, no, that's not okay. That's not okay. So if you have any questions for me that I have not addressed in my debate, in my Encore, which if you have not seen the debate, I think it went really well. I think you should watch it. It is on Portage Republicans GOP. I will actually, let me bring that up for you. I will give you the link for it. There was also an Encore video that they asked us to do. And the overwhelming consensus is I did a great job. Yay. Uh, so I would recommend checking that out. I will give you the link for both videos here. Let me find them. In the meantime, again, if you have any questions for me, by all means, let me know in the comments and I will answer them for you in real time. As like I've said before, I think I'm the only one that has done this. Not just have a single uh, question, forum, town hall, whatever you want to call it, but actually have an everyday live stream. Here we go. Okay, so well, thank you, Dave. Dave said you definitely won. I think he's talking about the debate. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's what I've been hearing. I think people in general, even those who are extremely loyal to other candidates, have reached out to me and said, if I wasn't voting for this guy because I'm on his team or part of his entourage or whatever, I'd definitely be voting for you. That made me feel pretty good. It really did. So there's the link for the Encore video, which again, I think is really, really, really good. It's shorter. If you just want to skip to like the last 20 minutes, that's me. You can watch the whole thing. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, it only, in my opinion, puts into perspective exactly.
Watch the whole thing.
Yeah, if you want to watch the whole thing, by all means, I think you'll see the stark difference between the candidates. Let me get the actual debate up here for you. I'm got to scroll through so I can get it. Okay, so hold on. Here's the here it is. All right, so I think this is it. No, that's the Encore. Okay, here it is. So let's get to this one. How do I? There it is. Share, copy link. There it is. Let's go back to here. No, I'm not going to end it. Here we go. There is the actual debate. Take a moment if you can. If you have not seen it, I recommend you see it, especially in the Encore. I lay out my plans for our healthcare system and what kind of changes we can make in order to make it much better. Oh, yeah. So Liz just brought this to my attention. Make sure that you check your polling locations. There have been changes, especially here in LaPorte County. A lot in LaPorte County have been changed. My understanding is they were unable to get as many poll workers as they wanted. And then the rules and regulations that are in place. They do have plenty of PPE, so don't be concerned about that. But there are those locations that have been changed. So make sure that you understand where you need to go to vote if you have not done so. Again, for everyone who has supported me throughout this, and even those of you who have words but maybe voted for someone else, why? No, just kidding. Thank you. I appreciate all those of you who have turned Dion's Daily Dose into more than just a rant and into an actual opportunity to get to know all of you. I appreciate all of the kind words of support for this and for my congressional run. Connie said, "Deep state showdown." You are absolutely right, and it's all coming to a head. It really is. If you want someone who understands the intricacies of what we are dealing with, who understands the types of changes that are going to be necessary, I'm your guy. And Eric says he's absolutely right. This is our right time to exercise that right. It really is. We have to focus on getting out there and voting and making sure that your voice is heard. We have to understand that staying home isn't going to solve anything. What's the term? Yeah, insane. Well, there's that. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. But that's what I would say as far as the leadership for the district. And look, let me make this perfectly clear. I don't want to be your leader. I want to be your representative. I want to be your voice. Okay, great. Cooley says working early voting, great turnout. That's awesome. Have you noticed, just out of curiosity, Cooley, have you noticed more Republican than Democrat turnout at voting locations? Because one thing that we have been told is that mail-in early ballots are primarily Democrat, like vast majority. Those that requested mail-in ballots are Democrat. That's what the ballots that they want. And I wonder if it has anything to do with the different press coverage of the pandemic and how afraid people are. I have my views on that and my personal opinions on that, but I was just curious if you noticed a stark difference in the number, because I have been assured by multiple parties, or multiple party representatives, I should say, that our Republican voice will definitively be heard on Tuesday because they are not comfortable with the mail-in voting or even early voting in some cases. Okay, Cooley said I'd say 50-50. Fair enough. It should be interesting tomorrow, and it should be interesting to see how all of this. Oh, I'm sure. As Cooley says, a lot of Trump hating. Yeah, you're going to have that. Again, I've said it before. Those who are vocal are the ones who bash Trump. The silent majority is alive and well. It elected him in 2016, and I believe we're going to see that again in 2020. It is what it is. There's nothing they can do about him right now. Anyway, so we shall see. For those of you who went in and looked at the ballot and said, "Who's Bill Weld?" You're not the only one. No, I'm just kidding. I knew who was on the ballot. I knew about him. Look, I think that Donald Trump is not perfect. No human being is perfect, but he has accomplished more in the time he has been president than I thought was possible, especially given that he has had a Congress and a media working against him full time since he took office. Really think about that for a moment. Imagine what could have been. I'm not talking about the people that detest Donald Trump and just hate him because you're told to by the media. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people that actually believe Donald Trump has done some real good in this country. Imagine what he could accomplish if he had people that were willing to stop bashing him long enough to listen to what he had plans for, to actually examine the ideas that this man brought into office, to actually work towards draining the swamp, to actually focus on getting this country back on track. Where we would be right now if we had get rid of the never Trumpers that were in when he took office, right, in 2016. Get rid of those. Get rid of those. Replace them with people who are not necessarily cheerleaders for him, but just willing to listen to the man. Think about where we'd be right now. Think about all of the things that could have been passed into law. We could have all of the things that it took EOs to do would be laws, like insulin prices, like price tag transparency, like all of these. I mean, there's massive lists. Any of you can go and look at what he's at. Magapill.com. MAGAPILL.com has a list. It's not perfect. There are a couple of repeats, but for those of you that really want to hear, that really want to learn what Donald Trump has done while having a hostile press, while having a hostile Congress, while having people in his own administration actively working against him. When's the last time we had something like that? I really stop and think about it. When's the last time that we have had a sitting president that had to worry about the kind of leaks that he has had, about the kind of hit pieces that have been written about him in papers, about had to worry about potential members of his own administration that are sabotaging him at every turn? Look at the I can't remember the name of the person, but it was someone in the CDC that actually allowed the ship to come back to harbor despite Donald Trump ordering that not happen. That's a tiny example of what I'm talking about. Imagine what we could accomplish. Eric says, I'm vocal against all corruption. I agree, sir. We have to be willing to be vocal and to stand up and to say, this is not okay anymore. We have allowed this to go on for too long. It is time to bring it to a close. It's time. You had your time. You made your money. You're done. We need that. We need that across this country, and it's happening. I am proud to say that all across this country, there are many good, strong Republican patriots that are winning their primaries, that are getting ready to springboard into the general election, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. I have such a positive feeling about the 2020 election, no matter who wins in District 1. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say this. If you go to the voting booth tomorrow and you choose me, you have my promise that I worked for you. You have my promise that I will not forget that I will endeavor to answer all your questions, to help you with the things you need help with, because there are people right now in office across the country whose phones go unanswered, whose voicemails get ignored, whose emails don't get checked. That's not who I'll be. That's not who I'll be. I will respond to you. And look, I'm under no illusions. Being a congressman is going to be, there's a lot to it, right? There's a lot to it. I may not be able to monitor every single one of my social media accounts. I may have to put some of those in the hands of supporters or employees or whatever, staff. But I will make sure that you know which one I am monitoring. I will make sure that you know how to get in touch with me. And if someone is not doing their job, let me know. Let me know, because that's how you communicate with me, whether it's through social media, whether it is via me having lives. And I will continue to do these, even if I'm elected to Congress. I will continue to have Dion's dose. It may not be daily. I'm not sure that I can do it every single day and still, be your congressman, but I will have them often as I can, once a week, whatever, where I will address you and allow you to address me. And I think it's really important to understand that we also need someone who recognizes that we need local people to work in the local office. We need people. I plan on working with certain organizations to make sure the staff that I utilize are people who would benefit the most from the position. And I'll leave it at that, because I'm not trying to pander to anyone. I'm not trying to tell you, I'm going to do this, so vote for me. What I will tell you is that I take staff very, very seriously. I have supervised people before. People will be vetted very carefully. because anyone who works for me is representing me. I think that that's a crucial thing. So that's pretty much it. I have said my piece. No matter how it goes, it's truly been a pleasure. This has been interesting. Like I said, I've had some moments where I'm like, really, seriously, like when they took my signs, I'm like, really, why, especially the ones where signs in support, like polling places, is one thing, right? Is it cheesy? Yeah. Is it being a weenie? Yeah. But when they go to my supporters' houses and take my sign and replace it with a McDermott sign, really, really, that's just so childish. But here's the thing: these are the kind of people that we're going to be running against, right? And I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me. It's what's the term? It's business, right? It's not personal. It's just business. Uh, Fine, whatever. But I'm going to tell you this: we have the best chance that we've ever had to flip this district. So, for all of you that are out there that have again backed me from not even day one, right? From the time that you learned about me and truly understood what I stood for, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And stop in tomorrow night at Zorn. 6:30 is when it kicks off, and hopefully we'll have results that night. I don't know. There's kind of some back and forth as to whether or not that's going to be the case. Some people have said, well, you probably won't find out because it's going to be that close. Other people have said, yeah, it's pretty quick these days with the digital stuff. You should know fairly early. We'll see. Either way, thank you very much for all of you. And yeah, Liz and the rest of the Dion for Congress team, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everything you have done, for spreading the message, for just taking time out of your day to watch my videos, to interact with me. It really does. I really do appreciate it. So if anyone has any further questions, if you've watched my video, still can't figure out who you want to vote for, and you'd like to know where I stand on a certain issue, and you don't feel like going through and digging through my videos, that's okay. Get in touch with me directly. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. You can hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube comment. You can email me, talk@dionbergeron.com. Here, I'll throw this ticker up. You don't have to worry about the rest, but if you have questions that you want answered, email me, talk@dionbergeron.com, or just call me. My number's on my website, dionbergeron.com, right? Give me a call. I will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Where do I stand on this? How do I feel about that? But for those of you who already know and are going to press that button. Oh, and just real quick, I'm going to let you know, I'm actually on the ballot, at least for Michigan City. My ballot, I'm actually on there 3 times, which I didn't think about that when I went in there. For District 1, right? For Porter and LaPorte County, I'm the first name on the list because it's in alphabetical order. For Lake County, I'm not sure, somewhere, but I guess it's full name, Dion Bergeron, right? So, yes, Jack, absolutely. Thank you. Make sure you come out to Zorn, Jack, because I appreciate all the help that you've given us. So I'm on there for District 1. I'm also on there for precinct person and committeeman/committee person. So I'm on there 3 times. For those of you in Michigan City, you'll see me, and delegate. Sorry. Yeah, precinct person and delegate. So hopefully I can count on your vote. Regardless, I'm unopposed for precinct. So I already voted for me for that. So you can probably figure out how I voted, but I do believe personally that a vote is a very personal thing. And for those of you who don't want to share who you voted for, stick to that, because that's your right. It's the tiny little bit of privacy we have left. Unfortunately, in when you declare a party, they get to see the party, but it doesn't show up on the data center how you voted, just so you know. Which is probably a good thing for some of these candidates, because the way some of these candidates have voted is very, very suspect. Just saying. That said, have a good evening, all of you. Thank you very much. And tomorrow should be interesting one way or another. God bless you, and God bless the USA.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Sean Holgram and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2020. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.